I was applying for vacation work for a couple of years. I think from the second year of university, I started applying for vacation work with big law firms and also medium to small size law firms, but I wasn't getting vacation work, which made me panic and made me feel like I was in trouble because we all know that we will be obviously advised at university during career phase and also when you talk to other people that the best way for you to give yourself exposure to law firms before you actually graduate and try to secure articles is to get vacation work. So, what happens when you don't get vacation work? And do you necessarily need vacation work in order to get articles? Find out in this video. Although this is crazy, we know that a lot of law firms, as a matter of fact, a lot of workplace environments will sort of expect their candidates to have some form of experience, some form of extracurricular activity, or something to show that they are an all rounded person and that they can function in the professional world. You'll be like 20 years old, and they'll be like, we're expecting 20 years of experience for this role, and it's an entry level role. And you're like, what's going on? But it's not obviously always that extreme, but they do expect you to have some form of work experience, which is very challenging. This is the reason why a lot of graduates find themselves at home and unemployed because they're not able to get the opportunities that they need while they're studying, and then when they graduate you find that your CV is lacking. All you have is your education and some skills, but you're lacking in vacation work or work experience to prove that you can function in a professional environment. I was in the same position, and these are the things that I did to give myself a better chance, and they did work for me. So the first thing that you can try and do is obvious: join university associations. I wasn't really interested in university associations for some reason, but I did join a few. I think I joined a women in law association, and I also joined the Black Lawyers Association because I obviously figured, like any other student, that because of the things that they do there, they will hold moot courts, they will hold all sorts of like practice related things, and you'll go for maybe trips to court and stuff like that. So it kind of gives you a bit of experience. It's something that you can add to your CV, but I wasn't convinced. A lot of people are in those associations. You'll find that there's like 3,000 people in those associations. So I wasn't really convinced that me being a part of those 3,000 would set me apart. Obviously there's a lot of us here, and it's hard to really say that from a university association unless it's really really intentional about giving people that experience. It's hard to really say that you would get the experience that you would get in a law firm or in a practical working environment. So that's the reason why then I decided to get part-time work. The second thing I did, because I knew that these law firms are looking for you to sort of prove that you can function in a workplace environment, I got part time work. So what I first tried is a little obvious. I tried waitressing, and for some reason, I couldn't survive more than 4 days. I gave it up after 4 days. My parents were not happy. I was not happy. It just wasn't working out for me. And in hindsight, I'm glad that I did because I don't think necessarily that it would have impacted me the way that the next thing I did was. So when waitressing didn't work for me, I decided to look further. I looked deeper within my passions. They were not necessarily related to law. So if you know me, you would know that I am very passionate about innovation. When I was in high school, I participated in the Science Expo, the ESCOM Expo for Young Sciences, and I did really well. I ended up representing South Africa in the UK with a couple of other finalists. So that's something that I was always interested in. So I signed up to be a mentor for high school students to basically prepare them for ESCOM Expo and what they need to prepare, and also to be a judge at the competition. It wasn't related to law, but it was something meaningful. It was something that I was spending my time doing, and also I was getting paid doing it. And I also had to work with the students and manage the students and sort of work on a schedule and whatnot. So although I wasn't working with legal documents, I was working with people, and I was sort of in a position where I had to oversee and direct and delegate so that these students would know what they had to do. And then that's something that I was able to add onto my CV to give me a better chance. Also with the judging of the competition, because you're judging a regional competition, you're speaking to a lot of people, you're making decisions. So those are the skills that I was able to put on my CV because of that, participating in Science Expo and also judging in Science Expo. So if you have any passions that are not necessarily related to law that you can get into, any work that you can get into, any volunteering that you can get into. I would encourage you to do it because, firstly, you will enjoy it because it's one of your passions. Secondly, it will give you an opportunity to prove that you are able to survive and function in a professional environment whilst you are actually enjoying what you're doing. Because a lot of the times we think that you don't have to enjoy it, you just have to prove that you can do it, and that's not necessarily the case. And that's what I did with Science Expo. So you could do that, find something that you're passionate about that you can do on the part time whilst you're studying, that will help you to basically show that these are the skills that you have. You can work with people, you can work in an environment that features other people, because obviously with the workplace environment there's conflicts, people have different opinions, different views and whatnot. So it's always good to be able to prove that you can function in an environment like that. And if there's any paperwork that you're doing, great, good for you. If you can do legal research, if you can shadow somebody, if you can, basically anything that you can do, that'll be great. And then the last thing that I did, which is also interlinked to my passion for innovation, is I started participating in competitions in the university that they were holding, specifically competitions for entrepreneurship, because I've always been interested in business and entrepreneurship. So it didn't really tie into law, but it gave me something that I could add to my CV, and I enjoyed doing it. So I had a relook at my innovation that I had from high school, and I revamped it and I relooked at the design, and then I started participating, and I did well. I represented my university across on a national competition, well, against 20 other universities. I was one of the finalists and I did well. And I decided to go a further step, and I participated in competitions also internationally, where I qualified as one of 15 finalists of South Africa who were leaders in innovation in terms of their innovations and their projects. And I was hosted by the Royal Academy of Engineering in London in 2020. This was just before COVID, just before graduating. So all of that helped me to have a CV that stood out, because nobody else, I would assume, nobody else had things like that on their CV to basically show that not only are you studying law and you're doing well and you've got these good marks or this great average, but you're also all rounded because you're able to function in an alternative work environment that's not necessarily law, but you're able to function in an environment where you're working with children or younger people, teenagers, and you're managing them and you're judging the competition. But you're also participating in high pressure environments, competitions, preparing yourself, pitching, because a lot of these competitions will involve you pitching to an audience, a group of people, and telling them about your innovation. So all of these things that I did, I truly believe did give me that boost that I needed. I was open-minded about what I could get on my CV to give me a fighting chance, because the legal industry wasn't giving me an opportunity to prove myself. They were not giving me a chance. I was just getting rejections or getting ignored. So then I decided to take another route to prove myself in another way, that actually I am an all-rounded person. I can work in high-pressure situations. I can work with people, manage people, conflicts and whatnot. And I think that that really helped me to be able to secure articles, because then I had my work experience. But actually the bummer is, if you look at my previous video where I talk about my journey and how it took 10 years, even though I had all of those things, it was still hard for me to secure articles because I graduated in 2020 and it was COVID. But it doesn't mean that it was all in vain, because in many interviews I have been asked about those things. So it definitely does raise an eye of like, okay, what is this? Tell us more about this. I recently actually had an interview last year where this attorney asked me about ESCOM Expo. He was like, you participated in the ESCOM Expo? I was like, yeah, I did well, blah, 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 blah. He was like, oh, my daughter is also participating in ESCOM Expo. And you could see he was excited. He wanted to know more. And I was like telling him about it. And I'm like, are we talking about expo or what's going on? Like, this is a this is a role for, obviously, to be like to work in that law firm as a junior associate, like an attorney role. But here I was telling this man about ESCOM Expo because he found it interesting, because his daughter was also very interested in ESCOM Expo and being successful. I was low-key afraid though that he would like want me to mentor his daughter while I worked for him, but it didn't work out. Thank you for watching this video. I'll catch you in the next video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'm happy to answer about what you can do to basically up your chances if you're struggling to get vacation work. And yes, vacation work is overrated. It's not the only way for you to prove that you are an all-rounded person. It's not the only way for you to prove that you can function in a professional work environment. So if you can get it, good. But if you can't, take other options. There are many other options open for you, and there's many other opportunities. There's many other doors that you can walk through. Vacation work is not the only way that you can prove your experience.